The pick is in.
And the Chicago Blackhawks have made their third selection in the 2024 NHL Draft. I'm Gil Martin, and we are joined by Jack Bushman from Locked On Blackhawks to break down Chicago's selection of Marek Vanacker with the number 27 pick presented by Indeed. There is no I in team, but there is one in Indeed, and that's the hiring platform you need to build yours to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. So, Jack, is the third time the charm for the Blackhawks. What is your take on this trade up and this selection?
Yeah, it's a pick that makes a lot of sense for the Blackhawks. Marek Vanacker is someone they probably got a lot of looks at this past year in the OHL with the Brantford Bulldogs. Nick Lardis, who they selected 67th overall last year, played for Brantford this season. So I'm sure they got to see a lot of Vanacker in action, and he had a big-time season and had his draft stock really rising over the last few months. Had some people... some scouts and analysts project him to go later on in the first round here. And it's because of the impact he made all over the ice for Brantford. A ton of shorthanded goals, a lot of big time offensive numbers, really, really big leap in terms of what he put up in his first year in the OHL to his second, well over a point per game this season. Was the leading scorer for the Brantford Bulldogs as well. And that was a very veteran team that they had. And as one of the younger players, he was trusted upon by their coaching staff to be utilized in all situations. Like I mentioned earlier, what was utilized on the penalty kill and scored a ton of shorthanded goals. He plays with some speed. He's got some good size, good offensive makeup. Is definitely going to have to get a little bit stronger, though. Only listed at about 165 pounds. It's kind of the biggest concern with Vanacker, but that is certainly something that can be addressed in a young 18-year-old as well. He only turned 18 back in April. So a high ceiling player, I think, here by the Blackhawks at 27.
And what is the one part of Vanacker's game that stands out most to you?
Yeah, his ability just to make an impact all over the ice in all three zones, two-way play, kind of a typical Blackhawks play like a Sasha Boisvert, who we talked about earlier, someone who isn't just going to make his presence felt offensively when he does have the puck. He makes impacts all over the ice. So good two-way player with a little bit of size. Going to have to gain some weight, but there's a lot of upside there for Marek Vanacker, and the Blackhawks were obviously comfortable with what they had seen out of him this past year in Brantford.
No doubt about that. Well, for more on the Blackhawks, subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And for more on Marek Vanacker, let's get an inside look on his path to the NHL.
Marek Vanacker was a late riser on a lot of 2024 NHL draft boards, but is he worth the hype? I'm Hattie Kalikash from Locked On NHL Prospects, ready to give you the breakdown. Vanacker is a 6', 165-pound left-shot winger who played for the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL. This past season, he scored 36 goals and added 46 assists for 82 points in 68 games. Vanacker's offensive versatility is really what made him rise on a lot of boards. He went from this kind of streaky, skate-and-shoot type of winger to a versatile playmaker, an intelligent playmaker who can affect the game in multiple ways. He's got great acceleration as well to separate from opponents in short bursts and find open ice in transition, and I love his motor on the forecheck as well. The issue with Vanacker pretty much all year has been the consistency. He's a player with a big gap between his best games and his worst games. If he can work on that, I think there's enough skill and detail in his game to play a Brendan Saad type of game in the NHL. For more on Vanacker and all things NHL Draft, follow and subscribe to Locked On NHL Prospects on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
And for continuing coverage of the 2024 NHL Draft, subscribe to Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.